Hey guys and girls, Nathan here again. As discussed earlier, I did a Facebook Live earlier on today, talking a little bit about, whoa, are we live? Um, yeah, Nathan here guys, just wanted to reach out, as I mentioned earlier on today in a previous Facebook Live, wanted to have a bit of a chat to you guys about something really, really exciting. They have changed the back end of this Facebook Live video editing, so it is a little bit different to navigate, so I can't see as much as what I used to see. If you're online, just smash up the likes, send us a message. I want to stick very clear to a very specific topic today. This will be reaching out to, hey Justin, hope you're doing well. I'm only being able to see those of you that are on the B.Invested Facebook page, your comments. So if I don't get these through, apologies. But today I want to be very concise on one thing, which is how you can retire in the GFD, how you can retire on this coronavirus problem that we're seeing at the moment, and how it relates to when I actually retired from the workforce. So if you're someone that I've never spoken to beforehand personally, if you're someone that I haven't, been a part of your property portfolio, then and we haven't connected beforehand, then cool. Well, lots of messages coming through here and things popping up on my screen. A lot of you guys that I have helped out over the last decade. I started B.Invested 10 years ago, 11 years ago now. In the midst of the GFC, I quit my job at the end of 2008, 2009, started 2009 and retired from the GFC. And yeah, today I want to talk a little bit about seeing some of these comments coming through. Welcome aboard, guys. I want to talk a little bit about how this environment is very similar to how I retired in the GFC and how you can too. So if you own any property, you're thinking of owning property, it's important that you watch this video. If you know someone that owns property, someone the biggest videos I ever make this evening. So I'll get into that in a couple of moments about how you can sort of take advantage of this market, the biggest opportunity out of this, and the reason why I've been banging on about the GFD now for 2 years. But just as people are coming online, if you're online, you're blessed to be online, because we're going to share some really basic numbers that people go, shit, wow, I never thought about it from this perspective. So we'll just wait for more people to come on board. Just running over a little bit about what's happening. I feel that something this week is going to happen that's big. I just have a gut instinct that some sort of financial institution will get into trouble. They're always getting into trouble. But I do actually feel like something may implode, i.e. a bank run or something happen with the banks. We've seen every country around the world give emergency, like central bank giving emergency bank cuts in the last 48 hours, or 24 hours, should I say. What are we going to see happen over the next couple of days? I believe that we're going to see the RBA cut the Australian interest rate down to 25 basis points with an emergency rate cut, probably Thursday or before. They shouldn't be meeting until the first Tuesday of April, sorry. So still a couple of weeks until they are meant to meet, but I actually think they're going to give it an emergency rate cut. And then pretty much from 25 basis points onwards, we're into negative cash rate territory. So at that point, we will be seeing, the only way for the tide to swing is into negative cash rate territory. But this has happened all around the world. The Bank of England, the RBMZ, the US Federal Reserve overnight cut their rates down 1% all the way to 0. So just very, very, very interesting. I saw an article earlier on. Scott Morrison said that he's going to give the first time ever quantitative easing in the country. He's going to give stimulus package. We've seen quantitative easing from the RBA saying that they're going to buy up the balance sheet the other day. So very, very, what we're looking at here is a second stimulus package within 1 week, right? 1 week ago, we saw a stimulus package, which was $20 billion almost. If you didn't see that, a lot of people are getting free money. but we're going to see a second stimulus package within a week. Right? When was the last? Like, if we just think back 2 months ago, lots of people lost their lives. Like, how many people lost their lives in the fire? Like, a lot more than 4 people that are elderly in the country. And I'm not trying to be a smart ass by saying that, but 4 people have lost their lives in the country from a sickness, and we have got like dozens of people that lost their lives, hundreds or thousands of people that have lost their homes. We didn't see any state of emergency like this, but now we've got people getting the flu, which they die every day from, and suddenly we've got all this stimulus happening. So this is very, very big, and we need to look at what's coming next. I snapshotted this earlier on, which is the ASX, which shows that it closed today, the ASX, at 5,000 points on the ASX, and 1 week ago it was 6,000 points. What that indicates to me is that we've lost 1,000 points in a week. 1,000 over 6,000 is about 17% roughly. The stock market lost 17% in a week, and it's going to get a hell of a lot worse, guys. So yeah, just you need to protect yourself in this marketplace. Now, I'm just going to leave that very clearly with the news and what I've got to say. If you want to see more about my thoughts from today, go and watch the video from earlier on today a little bit later. With it, I don't know how many people we've got online at the moment, but seeing a lot of people here commenting. So I'm going to get straight into my main part of this Facebook Live. How can you retire in the GFD? How can you retire from the coronavirus? And what is the benefit? And how would that look like for someone? So very importantly, if everyone can get their awesome 343 people online. Thanks for that, Justin. Now I think we can we can go. So if everyone get their calculators out, I just want to draw some simple mathematics here. People call me the human calculator. Just think about, how much debt do you have? Do you have 100 grand worth of debt? Do you have $1 million worth of debt? Do you have $2 million worth of debt? Do you have $3 million worth of debt? How much debt do you have? How much debt do you need to retire in 2020? That's the question, right? So if you have $1 million worth of debt and you see a 1% rate cut, which we've all seen 1% rate cut in the last 12 months, 1% rate cut on $1 million is $10,000 a year. So if you held a property portfolio that was neutral cash flow today and you had $1 million worth of debt, your position would be $10,000 a year better off. So if you're looking for $100,000 worth of positive cash flow through your portfolio, you could be sitting on, say, $5 million worth of debt. Let's assume you've got a neutral cash flow position on $5 million worth of debt, and it comes down by 1%. Each 1% rate cut that we see, you'll be saving $50,000 per year. So $50,000 a year with one rate cut. If we have 2% rate cut, 3% rate cut, the numbers go on, right? So how much debt do you need to retire? What is your position looking like for retirement? What does your property portfolio look like for retirement? I was sitting at a point in around 2008 where my portfolio was negative about $40,000 a year. Over a period of 2 years, my portfolio went from 40 grand negative to $30,000 positive. That was a point where I was like, shit, my portfolio is positive now. Do I need to work anymore, or could I do other things that are going to be sort of producing me an income rather than having to, sit at my desk and be enslaved away? And looking at, a lot of your portfolios, have you got the best interest rate at the moment? Is your finance structured correctly? I put out some things the other day saying that I want to see 2,000 people pay off their mortgages in the next 10 years. Is this about paying off your mortgage? No, but this is a time of change, right? A time of opportunity. A lot of people, are in a scared position, right? I'm seeing people, losing their shit, thinking, I better sell my properties. If you're selling your assets at this point in time, that's the worst thing you can be doing, because you're giving away your chips. Weak hands, parts with opportunity. Strong hands understands what opportunity is and stays firm in their position. So, where is your portfolio at the moment? How much money do you need to retire? These are the questions you should be asking yourself. Do I want 50 grand passive income? Do I want 100 grand a year passive income? Do I want 20 grand? What is it that we're trying to achieve? And then working backwards and going, okay, well, what is my position looking like at the moment? What is my property portfolio looking like? Have I got the right assets in my portfolio to get me to that end position of financial independence? Do I have the right amount of debt? Do I have too much debt? Do I not have enough debt? And looking at most people's positions, people don't even realize, where they're really at. I've got, in the last 10 years, or 11 years now of founding B.Invested, I've seen, probably over like 10,000 property transactions with my investors. There's people that I bought for 10 years ago, they bought 10 properties and they're still working today. Why? I don't know, right? And looking at their portfolio, they have the ability to. Have they tweaked it to put themselves in a position to be able to retire? What is your interest rate currently? Could you get a cheaper rate? Is your loan mortgage with a bank that would enable you to fix your rate? If in 5 years' time, no one can get debt like you can today, and you want to sell a property off and you can't replace that property, what would you do? What is your debt facility going to perform for you? Is your debt facility set up in order for you to be able to do a security swap, so you can take off this property and sell it and then replace it with another one? Where is your portfolio position? These are the questions you need to ask yourself, because we're in a position here, a very, very once in a lifetime sort of opportunity. We're going through a phase called a Condroti off winter, which is we're heading for a depression, and people are scared by that. People think that, the sky's going to fall in. Some of my mates beforehand said they're going to buy me a tinfoil hat and whatnot. But this is an opportunity, right? Say whatever you want, but this is the opportunity. I retired from the workforce in a market like this. Obviously, not people fucking stacking up on toilet paper. However, it was an opportunity where interest rates dropped. If we go back to 2007, 2008, we saw in a period of 5 months, the RBA drop interest rates from 7.25% all the way down to 3%, which it never recovered from. Everyone's like, it's gone down to 3%, it's got to go back up to 7%. Pre-GFC, I was paying 9% mortgage rates, which hurt a lot. Even though property prices were lower, my cash flow was out of whack. And in a very quick period of time, my property portfolio was able to turn itself around and do a 360 on that front, to get itself into a very good, solid, positive position. So, if you've got $1 million worth of debt at the moment, interest rates come down by 3%, that's $30,000 per year that you've got now got in your pocket. If you've got $2 million worth of debt and you've got a 3% rate cut, that is $60,000 a year now coming in your pocket. If you've got $3 million worth of debt and 3% rate cut, that's now $90,000 per year in your pocket. You know the drill here, guys. I don't need to keep calculating stuff for you. Get out your calculators, work out what does your property portfolio need to look like. What are the types of assets that you need to take through this market? What we've got to remember is that the greatest boom of all time that we've seen here in Australia occurred after the GFC. That's what happened. Why did people buy into property? People bought into property because the stock market collapsed. People's super funds got totally destroyed. Property had a strong fundamental. We don't see stats in the weekends and going, property. We just showed you the stats beforehand from the ASX. In the last 1 week, the stock market has dropped 20%. It's dropped 27, 28% in the last 3 weeks and 2 days or whatever. Right? We don't see that in property. By the time people forget what the coronavirus is, people will be looking and going, shit, well, interest rates are 0%. They are negative interest rates. I get paid for buying a property. Never beforehand have you been able to be paid for buying a fucking property, guys. And this is a world that we're going into. And if you want to believe it's a coronavirus, well then go and watch the fucking news, because that's what they're going to tell you. If you want to understand how the economy works and the fundamentals of things, then do your research, look at the opportunities, understand how the monetary system works, and see that this is something that cannot be fixed, right? After the coronavirus scare is gone, now we're going to see whatever changes are implemented now stay around for a very, very long time. As it sits, we have not seen one interest rate increase in a period of 10 years. If we saw the interest rates rise last year before they cut rates, we would have seen a big recession. Let's just confirm that we were already in a recession, but no one told you about it because the news held that information back. But lucky enough, you guys have been watching me talk some crazy shit when I had a big beard, and I was talking about, we've got the sky falling in, which everyone thought about. But here's the sky falling in, and I'm not scared. I'm very excited by this opportunity, and I think a lot of people out there should be, because if you had a neutral portfolio today, interest rate cuts gives you positive cash flow. What we're going to see is when interest rates go down so low, we're going to see people's wages paid for. We're going to see, there's a thing that I talked about 2 years ago. For those of you that are part of the mentoring program at the time, smash up the fucking likes, guys, because you remember I spoke about all these things. If you'd heard me talk about it in my videos, smash up the likes. If you've seen it on Birch Feed, smash up the likes, right? There's something called a UBI, right? It sounds like some fucking new STD. And if we're talking about, coronavirus in 2018, you'd probably go, what's COVID-19 or whatever the fuck it is, right? I'm still questioning what it is, but you'd be thinking it sounds like some really weird STD. But UBI stands for Universal Basic Income, and basically what it is Centrelink for everybody. This has been trialled in other countries. Universal basic income basically means that you're getting paid, right? So when the government, let's use the word correctly, when the central bank's injecting liquidity into our communist society, and fashion's running really, really rampant like it is today, people are going to be like, wow, I've got all this extra money, what do I spend it on? And then smart people with assets, like they do with the corporations that are out there, like everything that we're enslaved from, as soon as you go to your 12-year indoctrination camp at school, I've seen here MMT, which is modern monetary theory. These are all new things that we've never seen beforehand. But if you're holding the assets that are costing you 0% to hold, or in some instances where you'll be getting paid for owning your property, imagine having a loan for $1 million and getting paid 10 grand a year for the privilege of living in your own home, right? Here we go. We've got Lisa here saying, I'm speaking at the Basic Income World Congress in September. I've got Jacob here saying UBI will increase inflation. That's what it's going to do. So if we're sitting here at the moment fearing that some fucking made up shit that Bill Gates has probably created and the media is put into our heads so they can sell their agenda, because we need to blame something that we're fucked. We can't say we've raped and pillaged the economy for the last decade and for the previous many generations, and sit here and go, oh, it was that we did. We've got to find an excuse. So what greater excuse to say that some Asian ate a bat in the back of China and now everyone's going to fucking die and everybody's running around, so we've got to drop all the interest rates and inject liquidity in the system. Like that doesn't make sense. But anyway, universal basic income, as we're having inflation come into the marketplace, we're going to see a balance of rates coming down, meaning more cash flow. We're going to see more liquidity in the system, meaning that money is going to find a home. It means that your cheeseburger that used to cost you $5 in 2008, that cost you $10 in 2020, and it's probably going to cost you, $30 for a Big Mac, a cheeseburger meal in 2025 when inflation really starts ramping up, right? We're going to a phase called a hyperinflation, you guys. So you can pay today's debt with tomorrow's worthless cash. That inflation that we're going to see is going to find itself into rent, right? So imagine you got 10 properties, right? 10 properties that you bought for 200 grand, they rent for $300 a week, right? The property goes from 200 grand to 400 grand because it's now affordable. People couldn't afford it when they were paying 1.5% to the central bank, but now they're paying 0% to the central bank. They can afford it a hell of a lot more, right? And that's what caused the largest property boom in this country, in this nation's history, back in the last decade. right? And for us to see it go into the next decade, this is the fucking firewood, the petrol, and everything underneath this market to blow it up, right? And it's really, really exciting because as we see, as they say, you've got those 10 properties at 200 grand. We can all do the maths, $2 million. $2 million worth of asset purchase price. If you can buy that below market value it's worth $250 a property, and you pick it up for 200, you got $2.5 million worth of asset value. And if it doubles, that turns to $5 million. Well, it's 10, but it's 5. High five, very nice. And that $5 million worth of asset value, if you're paying 0% interest on $2 million worth of purchase price loans, whatever you picked it up for, that in effect costs you nothing to hold. Then the cash flow you're getting from the rent. But if that rent goes up, and let's say it's renting for $300 per week and it goes to $400 per week, you've now got $100 a week positive cash flow just from the rents increasing. Plus your debt, if you've got a 200 grand loan and you save 1%, and there's $2,000 a year that you're going to be saving, or $20 per week. So you've got $100 rent increase, $20 saving, there's $120 cash flow. If the rent comes down by 3% on your $200,000 mortgage, that's $6,000 per year. So $6,000 per year divided by 52 is an extra $120 almost. So suddenly we're at a point where we're getting 10 grand a year positive cash flow, or $200 a week. If you've got 10 of those properties, you've got $2,000 per week, right? They used to say, oh, this bogan guy from Western Sydney swears and all this sort of stuff. If it's that easy, whatever, right? It is pretty easy. It's just simple mathematics, right? I didn't even go to that fucking advanced mathematics at school where you have the fucking Pythagoras theorem and the triangles and the different types of triangles. I just went to the basic maths, and I can calculate this shit. I can even calculate the amount of liquidity that's in the market out there. And I think this is important for everybody to understand how that system works, how that engine works, and how you can actually take advantage of it. Because literally I know, and I can see the people that are tuning into this video, the people that have been watching it, people that have been commenting it, the people that are on this page. There's 25,000 people on this page, right? If you have a $500,000 worth of debt, $500,000 mortgage, and the interest rate comes down by 1%, that's $5 grand a year. Comes down by 3%, that's 15 grand a year. If you've got $1 million worth of debt and it comes down by 1%, that's 10 grand a year. Comes down by 30%, by 3%, that's $30,000 a year. If you've got $2 million, $1.5 million, $4 million, how much debt do you have, right? As I was saying multiple times in my videos recent times, is that debt is going to become the biggest asset moving forward. The monetary system has changed. Being able to get access to debt has changed. And that is why 4 years ago, we saw APRA come in, right? They're saying that now we can't have money because it might make people sick from having the money, right? Money goes to drugs and prostitutes and all that stuff, right? People have been using that shit for centuries, right? People probably use more credit cards now when they're going to, see a prostitute or whatever, right? So the thing is that they're trying to make out that it's this thing, right? We're in a position where everything's going to be changing, right? They're saying that, sorry, I had a mind blank. I'm looking at the messages come through as well. In this system right at the moment, it's a big, big shift. It's a big change on our mindset of how we've been. Beforehand, going back in the 90s and the 80s, and the money was very, very different. It was based and was very, very different in previous decades. So, Steve here, what is your take on how far you think interest rates will drop by, Steve? From our chats previously, I had a target range of negative 2 to negative 4%. So I think somewhere in the 3% negative range is where we'll see the RBA at. I think we'll get to see the banks in the future at the rate that we're going. The interest rates at the bank to be around 0% or maybe 0.5%. People will be paying you to take money away, right? Never in the history of fucking humanity on a global scale like we have right now have we seen this. Never, right? And one of the things I was trying to say beforehand is when APRA came into change, right? As I said, money now, I just remember where I was going. Apology, guys. Is that they're saying that APRA came in to stop the property investors, those bad property investors that were buying properties at the time and whatnot, right? No, it didn't. It came in to do what an interest rate rise would have done, but they were fucked, and they couldn't give you an interest rate rise, because if they gave you an interest rate rise, it wouldn't just be the homeowners that would die, it would be all the corporations that have taken debt. The world is a wash of debt at the moment, and they cannot change that back. The only way that's going to happen is if they devalue the dollar, crash the value of the money. That will cause a hyperinflation. People with assets will benefit the most, and being able to take this through the new system. Looking at where to and how low it will go, just answering on Steve's question there, at -2, -3, -4%. It's an exciting time, guys. It's an exciting time. You may not even want to pay your mortgages off, but as I said the other day, I want to take 2,000 people from where they are today into the future, and help them pay off their mortgages over the next decade. If you do have a mortgage, I run a company called Singer Finance. There's a link up in the description here. Flick us an email, send me whatever questions you've got. This is a time where people need to understand what are their portfolio, how is their portfolio going to get them to retirement, because a hell of a lot of people that have $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, $5 million worth of debt, which is a lot of people that are here, can be retired in 2020, right? I'm not making claims that everyone's going to be retired and whatnot, but you just do your calculations, right? We're all fucking smart human beings. Grab your calculators. Everyone's got a phone with a calculator on it. Just calculate, right? It's not fucking rocket science, right? $1 million worth of debt, 10 grand savings on a 1% reduction. 2% reduction, 20 grand. 3%, 30 grand. 2 mil, 20 grand, 30 grand, 40 grand, 60 grand. So very, very interesting. Daniel, would it be time to go into debt? 700K to knock down and rebuild at the moment. For me personally, I'm not doing any builds, any constructions at the moment, right? We've got a market with suppressed assets, right? We've got a suppressed asset market. Things are on sale out there. Why would you take that 700 grand? You can go and pay for those bricks in that house to be 700 grand next month, next week, next year. Probably get it cheaper when the tradies are all begging for work. But you can go build that house for probably the same money in the last 3 years and in the next 3 years, right? However, if you're picking up an extra asset, right, that 700 grand could go on to buy 3 or 4 new properties within a capital city, right? I'm picking up stuff in Sydney for 250 to 300 grand. I'm picking up stuff in Brisbane for 150 to 200 grand. I'd rather spend that money into assets and seeing the asset appreciation at this time in the marketplace. So that's purely all of this stuff is just my own opinion. I'm a little bit fucking eccentric or whatever you want to call me. So don't take my feedback as financial advice. If you would like some structured advice and some solid feedback from me personally on a one-on-one, now flick me an email, flick me a message to the link above. That'll come straight to my team. They will book us in for a 15-minute phone call. So if you've got a portfolio, you've got a property, you don't own any property, whatever it is, a free 15-minute chat. Let's look at what your position looks like. Let's look at what opportunities you've got. Let's look and see if we can tweak a few things to get you from where you are today into a position where you can retire in 2020 by taking advantage of the GFD or the coronavirus, as they want to call it on the TV now. They don't want to own that they fucked the economy. They want to call it and blame it on some Asian eating a bat in the back streets of China. So but flick us a message if you'd like to run through that. Greg, you think the USD will be recalibrated against gold and silver and skyrocket? No. They're not going to allow it. That will fuck the whole system. That will fuck the whole game. If you had the ability to rob the banks, right? Just think about this, right? It's a very good point because everyone always asks me about gold and silver. And, by no means, I've got a shit ton. Like, literally, I've got like fucking 7 digits worth of this stuff and it's all scattered in all different places. So if you're thinking of fucking rob me, right? But not you, Greg, but just anyone watching this video. But the thing is that, is this going to be pegged to a new dollar, right? It's like saying we're in a bank and we're robbing it, right? Imagine we're in a bank and we're robbing it. We've got, full access to the place and we go, well, do you think once we've gotten the last fucking gold bar, the last piece of money out of the bank, do you think we should go and call the police and put them in the bank so they're in front of us? Right? They wouldn't do that because it would kill their game. ultimately, I think there'll be some reset. This monetary system we've got has been decimated over the course of the last, 30 years, 40 years. 1971, 15th of August 1971, when President Nixon, it's nearly 50 years now since we saw the monetary system change. And those of you that are old enough, I've studied money since I was like fucking 8 years old, 9 years old, collected coins, asked questions about coins. I don't listen to anything. I always listen to stuff, always looking and asking questions like an intuitive kid, right? Like, what's this mean? What do I do here? What can I do there? And I always just thought to myself, why did all these currencies, why did this country have 1 million different coins to it? Why is there so many different coins to around the world? And that all leaves clues about where the origins of it came from. Why does a $1 and $2 coin look gold and the other ones look silver? They're representations of what they once meant. It's like the Matrix, right? It's like, oh, how do you know if this tastes like chicken, right? Because it's like, we told you it is, right? But it's something that, will it go back to a gold standard like it was 50 years ago? No, I don't believe so. Not for any minute would I think that would happen. But I do have a lot of strength and confidence in precious metals. But I see so many people that back their whole life on some precious metal. I've got 100 grand in gold. I've got 100 grand in silver. What else do you have? Nothing, right? Cash flow is the game. I used to drive around in a Bentley with number plate cash flow. I sold the Bentley because I got myself in a bit of a shit financial position when APRA changed. I needed to free up some liquidity so I could settle a lot of properties. I've still got those plates that are sitting there, and those plates, cash flow. The cash flow is the game of it, the name of the game. I bought those cash flow plates in the middle of the GFC when I quit my job because cash flow, gold, silver, is very easily manipulated. It does have a good value, it does have a place, but having 100% allocation into these things as well is not something that I'd advise to do. And there's a lot of people that would talk similar to what I talk, but they wouldn't. They'd just be very pro precious metals. Todd, how low will the Aussie dollar go versus US dollar, and when will it ever come back again? Will we ever see it at even money? It depends what's going to die first. It's just showing that our dollar's got less value to it than the US dollar. Depends whose interest rates are going to blow up first. If the US goes down to -5% and we sit here at still 25 basis points, then the Aussie dollar will go up a lot. If we see the Aussie dollar go down -5 and the US dollar stay at 0% interest rate, then our dollar is going to fall a lot lower. I think we could fall a lot lower, and it's just going to be a very interesting time to see. So I wouldn't like to speculate on that front into too much. Hayden, Funky Town, Benny, where do you see the ASX 200 bottoming out at? Good question. Maybe somewhere around the 3,500 sort of level would be somewhere around the bottom where I think. No financial advice to anyone here. Don't go short the markets. Don't go buy because of what I'm saying. There's just a personal gut feeling. I think we could see the Dow Jones over the course of the coming weeks around the 15,000 or 16,000 level. But will it go much lower than that? I doubt. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. You're asking me the questions, I'm answering them for you. Sanjay, can you help me? I'm here in New Zealand. I can help anyone. I have people all around the world, which I'm very humbled by, who reach out. So if you do require some help, flick us a message on the link above, and my team will book us in for a chat. Steve, so to summarise that point, obtain debt to the hilt, wait for inflation and make that debt unimportant and rents to rise. Once it does that, reduce your debt and wait for another cycle like this. That is correct, Steve. Steve is very knowledgeable of this stuff. We've spoken about a lot into detail beforehand. But yeah, basically, with my non-financial advice for all of you guys out there that want to try and claim me giving financial advice at the moment, basically, debt is an instrument attached to a property. If you got the property here and you got the debt here, the property will rise in value, which a lot of people think, but the property doesn't actually rise in value. It's just that the money is losing its value. So a figure of it's the illusion that the property's going up, but it's not the property's going up. It's that the money that you bought it with is losing its value, so you need more money in to do so. So, people say to me, why don't you sell your properties? The market will go back, this, that, the next thing. It's like, we're in a market where I can't rebuild my portfolio like I have it, right? A lot of you guys out there can't rebuild your portfolios. You might have a good portfolio, you may not even have a portfolio, but structuring it incorrectly can really screw you up. So this is a time, as I was saying beforehand, you could retire in this market. You could, structure yourself up. What are you going to do after you retire, right? Let's imagine you've got a property portfolio that's neutral cash flow. Today, it goes down. Let's say you've got $3 million worth of debt. Interest rate comes down the first 1%. You've got 30 grand a year positive cash flow. Second percent, 60 grand positive cash flow. Third percent, you're now $90,000 positive cash flow. Someone could turn around and go, well, fuck, I'm going to retire from that. I'm going to fix my interest rates in and fix them for the next 5 years or 10 years, which isn't where I'm at the moment by fixing, but I will be fixing. And for those of you that, I do manage your loans and whatnot, we will be giving you some feedback, and I will be very open about that when I'm going to be fixing my rates. So if you want to jump on board and fix yours, great. But not all banks fix your rates, right? Are you on an interest-only period that's lasting for another 10 years? Are you on a principal and interest period now? Where are you going to be at? So that's what my feedback is for everybody, is to, if you do have any property, or you're thinking of having property, or you know someone with property, we should be talking. Flick me a message. Happy to have a bit of a look at your portfolio. If you can fill out your details on the form on this video, my team will be in touch. They will get some information from you. They will book us in for a 15-minute chat to look at your position and go, okay, what can we tweak and where can we push it? But a lot of people will be looking at that portfolio and going, okay, we can make it positive cash flow. And just finishing on what I was just saying to Stephen's question is, let's assume that happens. And if one was to retire and go, I've got the 90 grand positive cash flow coming through today because the rates have dropped 3% of my $3 million worth of debt, then why would the bank allow you to service again if you had no job in today? So you would want to make sure that your portfolio has the freedom to be able to move one way or another. And I know that there's someone that was in this video or on some other videos we've been talking about. I think I've got a chat with this person the next day or two, where they've got some facilities where they may not be in a position to buy new assets and obtain new loans, but by selling off one of those said assets and having that loan facility there, they could attach maybe 2 to 3 new assets to that facility, as well as having a big chunk of cash in their pocket and then being able to do other stuff. So technically, imagine if someone had today a property portfolio of, say, I don't know, $5 million, no, $2.5 million on it. They've got $2.5 million worth of net worth on their property portfolio. They might go, okay, I've got a property that's worth $1 million, and I've got a loan of $500,000. I could sell it and take the $500,000 and have it in my pocket. That's cool, but when money's worth nothing, that's going to erode very quickly. You want to keep the asset. What's the asset? The property you sold off? The cash in your bank is going to help you leverage further? Or is it that loan facility you've got, sell off the property, reattach a new property for $500,000 onto that facility, put, say $400,000 in your pocket, another, $100,000 into that deal so it can leverage, have itself with a nice LVR to it, then have the cash in your hand, have a new set of assets that are going to take off in the next market. There's lots of things that you can be doing, people can be doing out here to make themselves retire in 2020. There's never been a time where I've been able to sit here so confidently, so potentially even arrogantly, to say, like, you could fucking retire this year. There's a lot of people in this thread, a lot of people that are going to be watching the video that may either be fucking shit scared to take action, might be fearful of their debt that they've got and go, I'm going to sell off my properties and pay down my debt because I'm scared of fucking dying from some non-existent disease that all the fucking media channels put out there, and probably, people created as biological warfare. Or there's people that are going, well, shit, this is a really good time. for me to be able to tweak my position, right? If you can tweak your position, right, you're playing on a chessboard, right? You guys have all got a chessboard. You've got a property portfolio, you own a property, you're a part of a chessboard, right? Who is moving those pieces? Is it you moving those pieces to get you to where you want to be and say checkmate, or is it someone else making those fucking decisions for the next 20 years, 40 years, 60 years, 70 years, 80 years of your life that you've got left, right? This is a year, right? People here that are 18 watching, there's people here that are like 70 or 80 watching. The opportunities for you guys to be in a position where you don't have to work moving forward is endless this year. So, Huss, where in Sydney can you get something for 300 grand? That's like asking Colonel Sanders what's his secret 11 herbs and spices. I run a buyer's agency here in Sydney. I buy properties nationally. I've helped a lot of people in this video and in the community build wealth using property as a vehicle. I locate, negotiate deals on their behalf, and I charge a fee for that service for doing so. But I build a solid portfolio. If you do, want to get access to those sort of deals, flick us a message on the link that's in the video, and my team can put us in contact. I can talk to you a little bit about that offline. Generally, there's like a form that we need to sign, an engagement letter for me to be able to act on your behalf, just to protect the intellectual property there. So, Sam, what about if you have no investments but want to begin? Look, it's not all that bad, guys. There's opportunities out there. I've got a client I'm working with at the moment. I think he's up to 5 properties in 6 months. He's a young guy. There's people out there that have, got to their, I see the next one, which is 10 properties, Dreamers On. Right? You're doing a great job there as well. You know who you are that's posted that. But there's people out there that are getting into double-digit portfolios. They're starting their portfolio now. The great thing about this time, which we don't see and we will not see in the future, is that we're seeing capital controls on money at the moment, right? If you go to the bank and you ask them for 10 grand, you're like a fucking fugitive, right? It's like, it's my money, right? I've got 100 grand in the bank. I want to get it out. They won't give you it, right? Go try. I encourage anyone that's got more than 20 grand in their bank, go say, I want my 20 grand. They won't do it. They'll go to online banking, go do this, right? What is it going to be like when interest rates are negative? The bank has to pay you. The RBA goes, oh, fuck this. We've caused a bigger issue. We're going into inflationary territory. Let's increase interest rates. Everybody dies at that point, right? So they can't increase interest rates. So it's going to be like this for a very long time. But then what measures do they have? As I said, going back in 2016, APRA started, playing and tightening liquidity in the system and access to the funding. Every country around the world now uses Equifax. RP data got sold to CoreLogic. CoreLogic is the property data. This is a global system, right? Global banking, right? We're in a point now where they're just going to be able to control the amount of money you get. Oh, you can only have $1 million each person, right? So people will not be able to build the portfolios like they have now. We've got properties that are on sale, right? Properties are heavily discounted. From the peak of the boom to now, we've seen interest rates come down by fucking 80%, probably 90% by the weeks out. Interest rates come down by 90% at the RBA. We've seen property prices fall in capital cities by about 20% from the peak back in about 2016, 2017 to where they are now. The market is starting to take off, and we've got so much liquidity that's going to float in. Access to funds, cheap funds, zero funds. People going, shit, property's a great buy. The rental returns are so positive. I'm going to be able to get a better deal in property than anywhere else. That's what's going to be the rocket fuel. So you are in a good position there, Sam. If you have no properties at the moment, you want to get started, right? You couldn't come and wait till the news tells you it's great and, oh, coronavirus is gone. And look, property prices have gone up double. You could be sitting there at a point where everyone's going like that, and then it'll be too late because you won't be able to get the properties. They'll be too expensive. You missed out on the opportunity. So don't fear this sort of time. The opportunity is there. So I encourage you, if you don't have any assets at the moment, you don't have any investments, you want to get started. I run a non-bullshit investment firm. There's a lot of idiots out there in the property space. probably like 95% of them. I don't talk to them. I just run my own race. I do what I do. I share with you guys my knowledge of what I learn, and I do it free. I take it out of my time. It's like 9:30 of the night. Sometimes it's midnight when I'm having these chats. So yeah, with it, yeah, if you do need help, feel free to reach out and help you out however I can. Brock, should I change my super fund investment option from aggressive shares to cash only? That is one comment that I'm not going to answer at all in here, Brock. If we had spoken a while back, you would have seen me very openly, without any care of people saying, oh, you might be bordering in the financial advice territory by saying sort your shit out with your super. I've been saying for a good year, sort your super out. At this point, it would need to be very strategic and tailored advice, Brock. It's not too late because you could still save some of your positions. I know there's some people in this video. I've actually seen their names pop up that have made lots of money in the last week due to some of the options that have been in their super funds that we've managed for them. So at B.Invested, I help people manage their super funds as well. So if you need help on your super fund, hit us up. I can't, just by law, I can't give the advice, especially on a video about, go do this or go do that. It's very tailored advice. So it won't cost you anything for the advice. Happy to have a quick chat with you. My team will either organise a meeting if it's for your super fund with myself or with one of my senior financial advisors that structures super funds on behalf of our investors and give you some pointers to be able to try and protect yourself and take advantage in this market. Tim, yay for cash flow. Fucking cash flow, yeah, man. Most people have nightmares about their money, especially in this time. People are having nightmares, right? I have fucking dreams of like these little poor fucking $1 and $2 coins doing fucking bench presses and stuff. I want them working for me, and this is a time for cash flow to be, flowing for people, right? And that's how the world goes around, is with cash flow. So, Justin, lesson learned. I don't know what that's about. Oh, sorry. I'm just having a look here. Went all in on gold, silver, and miners. Trying to save cash now. Should have 10 grand in June. Keep the hustle going, right? There's a lot of things that are out there on sale at the moment. I'm not telling people not to buy shares, right? I'm going to be very open when I do re-enter into the share market personally. And there is ways there to short the markets, which is something that I actually need to get back into recently myself. But my strategy, I'm a very lazy investor when it comes to this stuff. My advice is very different than my financial advisors. B.Invested give people different options, but me personally, I'm a buy and hold dude. So I'm waiting till the market shits itself, which it's let out a bit of steam, but I'm waiting so I can use all those toilet rolls that I've saved up to go and clean up the market by picking up shares on the cheap. But there is lots of good, cheap assets out there. If we look at Bitcoin, cryptocurrency at the moment, very cheap. Am I buying any crypto? No, I'm not buying crypto. I've got a very big position in crypto, which I got into way before the markets took off in the last, sort of 5 years. So, but there is good opportunity out there. Angelito, I know, are you saying that negative cash rate territory is going to be a new world monetary system? If so, do you reckon it would be this way for the next 10 years? What I am suggesting here is that every currency around the world is going to die via a hyperinflation. I've talked about it like 4 years ago when all the haters were out there about property and they're like, Nathan's going to go broke. He's too over leveraged. Why is he saying negative interest rates? Stop doing bags of cocaine or whatever, right? I never touched that shit. I don't do drugs. Just put it out there. I've got a very high energy that comes out and weird way of thinking. However, looking at the monetary system where we're at, for those of you that haven't been exposed to this beforehand, we're at a position at the moment where we're going to head into hyperinflation. The only way out of this is to stimulate the economy. It's happened many, many times. There's been over 10,000 fiat currencies. The money we use, which is called dollars, is a fiat currency. It's backed by nothing. There's been over 10,000 of them in the last 1,000 years. The first hyperinflation occurred in China in 1024 AD. That's pretty funny. What will come from this? Who will be the winner out of it? You know, lots of people are going to lose, right? I'm not even here to, try and get, the winner of the. I'm just here purely to take the chips. I want to fucking clean up that board that I'm playing on, and this is a game where everybody, with just tweaking a few little things, being able to put yourself into a position of understanding, going, what options, what abilities do I have in my life at the moment to, really turn around and say checkmate and, live life on your terms, because that's what, I created this business for a decade ago, is by telling people to tell their boss where to go, which was one of my old favorite logos, tell your boss where to go. That was, the younger version of myself, and live life on your terms. And this is really a time for people. I cannot stress it enough. As what I've said beforehand, if you've come into this video later, go back and watch this video again and understand how you can leave your job in 2020, how you can use this coronavirus to your benefit. Right? It's not called the coronavirus. In my world, it's called the GFD. Coronavirus is a scam via the media. I'm not saying there's no disease or sickness, but just, yeah. Daniel said buy some BSV. Not going to go into that on that thought, but it's good value. Just limited to get mortgages in Ireland. Disaster. New rules came in after the housing crash in 2008. Need a lot of savings to get a mortgage. Justin, I don't know who you are, but it's very good to have you on board in here. If you can, maybe we can have a bit of conversation as well via this live stream. If you can maybe give me some more feedback to the community so we can share that. So it says here, I'm limited to get mortgages in Ireland. It's a disaster. New rules came in after the housing crash of Ireland in 2008. Need to get a lot of savings to get a mortgage. That is exactly what I said would happen 5 minutes ago, guys. You're in a time now, they haven't got these rules and measures in place. As we drop our interest rates down so low, it's going to come down quicker than the fucking World Trade Center 7 in 2001, right? That's what's going to happen to the interest rates. But then they will start seeing all the rush to this liquidity, people getting that money, spending it. At this point, the whole monetary system doesn't care about, house prices going up. They want them to stop falling. They will be happy for people to go and extract equity from their mortgage, from their property, and use their house as an ATM, and then go and buy a car and go and buy a lounge, furniture, makeover for the wife, whatever the case may be. But then when the house prices get out of control and, there becomes so much, velocity inside of that system, they will want to control this. They will stop you being able to lend. Right? It's going to become harder and harder to get lending moving forward. But no one knows that yet, right? This is something for maybe 2 years, 3 years down the track. That's why you've got this window of opportunity to set your finances up correctly. Make sure that you get your lending right. Make sure that your loans are correct, and be able to structure yourself to be able to push through and clean up in this time. So thanks, Justin, for sharing that from over in Ireland. Tracy, do you think there's going to be a crash in the market due to coronavirus? I covered a lot of this in this video. I don't want to go into it deep, but I'd suggest to go back and watch some of that, and also the video I did prior to this. I did get a haircut today, same shirt, different Facebook Live. Rodney, what happens if unemployment rises 20 to 30%? That's great. It's going to be great if unemployment rises to 20 to 30%, because when unemployment rises to that level, we're going to see so much stimulus, right? We've had 2 stimulus packages in 1 fucking week. We've got Scott Morrison putting his 2nd stimulus package together. Now, in what world does this happen? We haven't even got a recession yet, right? If unemployment goes to 20 to 30%, they're going to be paying your mortgage for you. They're going to be bringing you a new car. They're going to be giving you food to eat. This is going to be full-blown communism at this point. So it's going to be fantastic. If that happens, great, right? Understanding how does everyone benefit? How's the stock market, right? If we look at the Dow Jones hit almost 30,000. It nearly died 12 months ago on Christmas Eve, in 2018. Christmas Eve, the stock market died at 20,000 in the Dow Jones. It went up to nearly 30,000, right? The stimulus injection is going to push the Dow Jones to 50 to 100 to 200,000 points, which, like, if you said 5 years ago that would happen to be like on fucking smack. And they'd still say that in the current market. but this liquidity is going to trickle through there. The worse the crash or the bigger the problem that there is in front of us, the more liquidity it's going to be injected and the greater turnaround. This boom will cause the largest growth phase ever. So hit it with whatever it's got. Either way, if you've got the assets, you've got the right vehicles there to take those assets through the market, you're going to clean up, right? As most people are going to run. We've seen how people have been fucking stupid over toilet paper rolls, right? And that's society. And that's going to happen with, people getting scared of assets, dumping assets. Oh, better get rid of it. Debt's bad. Debt's bad. Oh, that bald guy on TV said, when the sun rises in the morning, oh, better sell and buy some shares or whatever. People will do stupid shit just like they're advising on there. So, it's important. Like, take the time, guys. Understand what's going on. Be calm. Don't, make irrational decisions, right? No war was ever won from someone's emotion, right? It's important to, understand the game at play here, and especially how you can benefit and how your family can benefit and how you can, put yourself in a position where you can live life on your terms. Remind what will happen with the cash saved up and the AU dollar collapse. Will it collapse? All dollars will collapse, I believe. We will not see the dollars survive until 2030. We're going to see a massive currency collapse within the next decade. The money isn't going to collapse now, guys. We need to be very clear on that. Money isn't going to collapse. It will, but we've got a hyperinflation to go to first, right? A hyperinflation is going to mean that your debt is worthless, right? Imagine if the government's giving you $1,000 a week, right? Your debt's going to be worthless. Imagine if your mortgages are negative, the banks are paying you, right? Your cash is going to be worthless, right? That's going to cause this liquidity to flow through the system. And at that point, when the cash does die, interest rates will go back up. They'll go to fucking stupid levels we've never seen before. If you think the 80s was bad, but at that point, everyone will be printing so much money. If you've got the right vehicles to take you through that, you're going to clean up big time. But no, I don't believe that the cash will die at this point. The people that will die are the people that have savings. In this next phase of the market, anyone with money will lose the value. They might have 100,000. It's actually reported, guys. And I don't know if you know what happened back in the 20s. Adolf Hitler, everyone's reported that the guy's a bad guy. I don't know him. I can't comment. I can't comment on Kim Jong-un or bloody Saddam or Gaddafi or anyone like that. But what happened back during that time, Hitler was actually voted in. He wasn't a dictator. He was voted in. He was the founder of Volkswagen. And a lot of people never realize that he actually founded a car company very similar to Henry Ford. And people wanted Hitler to be voted in. And the reason being is that someone could retire on 50,000 Weimar or Reichsmark or Weimar. It was the Weimar government. It was a 50,000 German mark, right? It would be like having $5 million in your bank account. Within a period of 3 years, the banks closed the bank account and didn't even send you a letter. So you could retire on 50,000 mark in 1920, for example. In 1923 or 1925, your bank account was closed and you lost it all. Why did that occur? Because a postage stamp to send you the letter was worth more than the money that was in the account. And what happened then is the hyperinflation. That's why, he rose to power due to the fact that, people wanted a revolution, and that's what they got, right? They got, whatever bad stuff that occurred. And we're at a point now where you could have $5 million in the bank. If someone said you had $5 million in the bank, you'd be like, yeah, look, $5 million is good. Right? But what about, I know when I was a kid, $50,000 was a lot of money, right? 50 grand's nothing now, right? It's not because, Nathan's got properties, we've got money, right? $50,000 in society won't do what $50,000 in 1990 would do. Just the same as, $1 million as a kid growing up. Everyone was like, imagine in the 90s, like $1 million in the 90s. It's like, yeah, they could buy you 3 waterfront mansions in fucking Sydney Harbour, right? Now, $1 million wouldn't even buy you a shitbox in the back of Penrith, for example, right? And that's something that we're at that phase. We're at that phase where our money is just going to lose all of its value, but it isn't going to crash right at this minute. crash over the course of the next decade, and we will see a hyperinflation. Go and see what happened. There's a guy called Mike Maloney, Hidden Secrets of Money. He talks about it. He tries to sell gold and silver, so just be aware he's going to talk about it and relate it to gold and silver, but it could be related to any different sort of asset. And for me, debt is a tremendous vehicle with properties that are going to be hyperinflated away. The good thing about property that's different than gold and silver is that gold and silver is a precious metal. So it's put away. You can't leverage it. Has no cash flow. With property, you've got the property asset value that can be inflated away, as well as you've got the cash flow that will get inflated away, and you can use that cash flow to support one said lifestyle. So, Shane, will my very low income stuff me up a lot? Look, any income at this point in time, there's going to be a lot more stimulus. People's wages will rise coming out of this. There will be a lot of hurt. It may be a 2 to 3 year turnaround out there. I don't see, there's opportunities for anyone. Right? When I first started buying a property, building my property portfolio, I was on 35 grand a year, 40 grand a year. You can still buy properties, you still buy assets, doesn't matter how low your income is. You can still buy, I see people today that are on 40 grand a year, they still buy 150, 200 grand property, and then that leverages them into the next property, and so on and so forth. So don't beat yourself up that I can't do it or whatever. There's so many people. I speak to at least 5 people a day that I have strategy sessions with, my investors personally. And I look at people from all different walks of life. And there's people there that might be on 100 grand a year that don't think they can do anything. There could be someone there on 30 grand a year that don't think they can do anything. There could be someone on 300 grand a year that thinks they've got no savings, but they've got opportunity in other ways to be able to get ahead. And, if you do, anyone here that has a position, feel free to click the link, send us a message, book in. My team will book in. All of you guys that are watching, give us as much information as you can as far as your position, so then we can get best use of our time. Booking for a 15-minute chat for us to have a review on your position. I can give you pointers on how to capitalize in this marketplace. Well, send you a message about super. We'll be in contact. Thank you for reaching out. I have confidence in what me and my team do. Stan, I have nightmares about not having enough properties. I still have nightmares about not having enough property. Caleb, so definitely property over shares. Look, I think that everybody should have a strategy and a game plan in place. Everybody's position is different. My game plan today will be different than my game plan in 2008, 2009. I quit my job in the middle of the GFC. Most of my colleagues were scared of their job. I was, concerned, but then I was like, fuck, I'm in a mad position. I've already made plans. This is cool. Whilst everyone else was scared of their job, whilst I initially was a little bit scared of my job back in the GFC, what I didn't realize is the amount of assets and opportunities that I had created for myself. At the time I quit my job, I had like 16, 17 properties. I had 25 properties by the age of 25. I'd built myself options, not even to give a shit about my job. And what I didn't realize is that those assets at the time, because of the injection of liquidity, interest rates falling down, assets price increasing, I went from being negative geared to positively geared in a very, very quick swing of roundabout. So, and it is an opportunity, as I said, for those of you that have turned in a little bit later this evening, the opportunity is now to look at your position. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be, might be scared. Oh, what about my job? What about my job? Well, it gives a shit about your job. When your interest rates go to zero, go to negative, and you're getting cash flow coming through, right? $1 million, as I talked about beforehand, if you've only seen this now, $1 million at a 3% rate cut is $30,000 a year passive income to you. So, you go work the numbers, work out how much debt you need, work out how much cash flow you need, work out what is it going to take for you to retire during the GFD/coronavirus. I would cough and normally be like, GFD, coronavirus. But I'd probably fucking scare everybody today because they'd be scared of coughing. With it, Tommy, mate, one of the concerns for investors is if in this upcoming GFD people lose jobs and cannot afford to pay their rent, will the government step in with grants and assistance? It's stepping in already, Tommy. The government's stepping in already. Well, not the government. We haven't got the government stepping. We've got the big boss stepping in, the central bank, which oversits the government, right? The government's just a little bitch, right? Everyone's like, oh, I voted for the Prime Minister. No, you didn't. You voted for two little puppets which are controlled by the same entity, which is the central bank, right? And the reality of it is the central bank has to step in, because it's not just all these little puppets and the people that are voting, which is all of us, right? It is their assets, right? The central bank's assets. What we really need to understand, guys, is that the central bank's assets isn't a fucking house or whatever. We, the human beings, the citizens, the tax slave is the property of this system. So naturally, for this system to keep going, for them to keep having their game, they have, they've lost all their ammunition to be able to push forward, and they've only got a couple of maneuvers left here in this system before it spirals out. But they'll survive, right? These guys will survive because their assets that they've got will hyperinflate as well. But we're in a position if the government could do rent assistance, right? Imagine this, right? Imagine if the next one is for poor to low income earners get rent assistance of $200 a week to save them having to pay their rent. They can't go to work and they start getting rent assistance. Fucking imagine how great that is. That's the first time I've ever thought about it, right? Imagine if everyone starts getting $300 a week for rent, right? How good would that be? The tenants are paying me more rent. My mortgages have gone down to nothing. It's fucking great. Thanks for making me think of that, Tommy. Sam, thanks, mate. Can I get in contact with you guys? You can, Sam. There's a link in here. It's got a contact page. Flick through as much information as you can, questions of what you've got. My team will book in. Right, I've got so many people wanting to have a chat at the moment, and it is. I know I'm booked out for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I will try my best to be in contact with everybody in as quick as time frame as possible, because being able to navigate through this system is very important. So. Get in contact with the team. They'll book us in for a chat. I'll have a look at your position, and I'll put you in contact with the right people, and I'll give you direction on what I would do in your position to try and help you gain a bit of clarity and stability in this time. Because a lot of people are very scared of, do I sell? Do I do this? Right? I'm really, really excited. Right? This is the most excited I've been for a very long time. Now, you guys might be able to tell that because I'm just very, very excited coming on doing 2 Facebook Lives in a day, 5 Facebook Lives in a week. And I don't have the time to do it, but I try and fit in as much as I can just to be able to share what's happening out there, because you won't see this shit on the indoctrination station, being the media. Jason, 489 in debt with my mortgage. Am I looking at getting the property? Will my debt be too much to get a loan? I don't know your position, Jason. I know there's a lot of people that have lots of debts. Depends on your position. If you would like to send me an email via the link. I need to get water. I keep talking too much, guys. But if you would like to send me a message on the link with a bit more of an update on your position, I can get back to you. The more information you can send, I can send you a quick email back going, yep, look, this is what we could do. Let's look at this, blah, blah. But I will get my team. I want to get in contact with you all and be able to help you guys through this time. So with it, you could quite well possibly. A lot of people don't realise, like $489,000 isn't a lot of debt in this market, right? It might be a lot of people saying, oh, $489,000 is a lot of money, right? I remember back in 2003, 2004, 250 grand was a big mortgage back at that time. We're going to be severely positive cash flow on all of these properties out there in the market in the not too distant future, have the right debt instruments, which will mean that you can carry those assets all the way through this market cycle. Imagine having a 10-year fixed rate at like 1%, right? $1 million loan, 10 grand a year. You could be buying a brand new house in Sydney for $1 million and being paying $200 a week to live in that house. Like, fuck, who would have thought about this years ago? 1% interest rate on 489 grand is $4,890 a year. It's about $90 per week, $94 per week or whatever it is. So really exciting time, guys. Make sure you've got the right vehicles to get you through. Jared, would you build a principal place residence in a very large new estate whereby the developer agents have been maxed out with the equity within the property where there's none and prices taken years to start inflating. Well, I'm getting a headache just fucking reading this. Why would you do that for? Like, if I said here's an opportunity, right? I've got 2 sets of options, right? There's a Ford key, and let's pretend that this is a garage room, right? Let's pretend that these are the same things, right? Let's say this key and this key. This key does open the same door, and this one opens the same door, right? This one, $1 million. This one, 200 grand, right? Which one do you take? Right, they're identical. They open the same car, right? Why would you want to buy an asset which there's 3 principles that I have when buying property: buy below market value, strong upside for capital growth, and strong cash flow. If you're buying a property which is above market value or has no upside, it doesn't tick the boxes. So to answer your question, no. But how can you, people say you can't have your cake and eat it too. There's lots of opportunities there to be able to, get the best of both worlds. So if you want, flick over a message, as I said, the link's up in the above. We can have a bit of a chat about where you want to be. Brad, please post this video to your page so I can watch the rest of it at a later date. Definitely keen to pick your brain on upcoming weeks and months. Stay woke. Stay woke, people. Don't be fucking dumbed down by, fluoride stare. Don't be dumbed down by the shit that's being put in your ears. It's a very, very interesting place out there. And, lots of manipulation in the markets. Wade, I have 40K. What would you do with it? Depending on multiple parts of one's position. If you want to flick over a message to the link above, put in the message box as much information as you can. I will read every single one of your messages about your positions and help you out. Personally, you will be getting in contact with me by sending the message. The more information I can know about your position, the better that I can help you and guide you. I can say do a range of different things, but what's going to be most beneficial for you, you could put that $40,000 into a property, pull out another $40,000 equity, buy another property. Let's assume, let's just go through this one extra little bit before we wrap up tonight. Imagine if you have 40 grand, you buy a property, pull out the equity because you're buying it so well, buy another property, pull out the equity, buy another one, pull out the equity. You could literally turn your 40 grand into, 500, 800, $1 million worth of asset holding. And if that doubles, then you've turned your 40 grand into, $1 million profit or passive income of, 20 grand a year or whatever the case may be. So looking at your position, you could say 40 grand I could put into shares, lose another, 20% in the coming weeks, pick them up at the bottom, make 20%. You could buy cryptocurrency, you could do all different things. But without knowing the other parameters of your position, it would be hard for me to give, and reckless of me to be able to give feedback on this live stream. But flick over this message, mate, and appreciate the support and watching as well. Chris, since interest rates are so low, would it be a good time to purchase my first investment property or loan use credit? What is the housing market like right now compared to stocks as their cycles aren't synced? Good question, Chris. Watch through the rest of this video. I've touched on this a lot this evening. I believe that we're right at the bottom of a market. We're about to see the biggest boom, the mother of all booms that we're going to see take off because interest rates are so low. It's going to put firecrackers underneath the property market and push those prices up. But a lot of people will tell you that it won't be that case. And I disagree with their opinions because this is what I've done multiple times over. And for those of you that don't know, there's a lot of new viewers here and people that are part of the community. I personally own hundreds of properties and self-made from scratch. Understanding how monetary systems work, understanding how assets work. Over the course of the last 20 years, I've been able to build up last 17 years, I've been able to build up such an asset base from nothing to where we are. And this is, a lot of people that bought in the last, 5 years, 10 years, won't even recognize themselves. And they'll be sort of, in 5 years down the track, 10 years down the track, sort of fucking suicidal. Why didn't I take advantage of the opportunities out there? Why didn't I, jump on things when interest rates were so low. So yeah, I'm a big fan of it, Chris. Flick over a message to the link above, and I'll have a look at your position. I'll personally give you some advice and feedback on what options may lay ahead for you. Alan, what trading platform do you use? I just use ComSec for my purchase for buy and hold shares. I know it's pretty lame, pretty boring, but I'm not a massive share investor. However, yeah, there is some other. I've actually got a mate that used to work for me who got me into trading and shorting certain markets and whatnot. Now I forget the actual. It's like a hedge fund trading platform. Now, if you need help on that, I can hook you up with the right people anyway. So yeah. Dean, my son has about 60,000 saved. He's 21. What should we do? We have wanted to come and see you for a while now. Dean, thanks a lot for having confidence and wanting your son to have a chat to me. Once again, just flick over a bit more information. With $60,000, you could possibly buy 2 properties in the current market, 150, 200, 250 grand in capital cities. With neutral to positive cash flow, hold those assets, they go up in value. He has opportunities to then, build more wealth in the coming years in a very, very good position. For me, when I retired from work towards the age of 24, I bought my first property at the age of 18. There was a period of 7 years that I worked 2 jobs though. It wasn't easy. And, for your son being 21 years old, being excited by property, wanting to get into property, that's, commendable to you guys as parents to be able to, nurture him to want to do that and not, party and Kentucky tours and shit. I don't think anyone's wanting to Kentucky tour right at the moment, eh? But yeah, get in touch, and I'll personally give your son some pointers on what I think he could possibly do. Drew, same thing happened in Zimbabwe. It did happen in Zimbabwe. It happened in all countries around the world almost beforehand. Tommy, as always, thank you for my non-financial advice. My pleasure. I don't even really care about disclaimers nowadays, but yeah, it's non-financial advice here, guys. Could you please explain quantitative easing? What will happen with the bank interest rate? From Robbie. Quantitative easing is basically stimulus being put into the markets. I did say in my mentoring program, there's a lot of you guys that are a part of my mentoring program over the course of the last couple of years. I don't do it anymore. It came out when I do stuff, I say I'm going to do it once, and I'm not John Farnham that goes on his fucking retirement tour year after year after year and goes, "This is my last tour, man." And I do things once. I did a mentoring program a couple of years ago and explained all this stuff previous to when it happened, and it's probably my most sophisticated investors ever came from that. You can still get access to that. You didn't speak to the team. I don't even know how to get you guys and hook you up to it. But in there, I talked about how the banks will be, the central bank being the RBA will be buying up the bank's balance sheets in the future. And they've just come out for the first time in history. The Australian government is calling it quantitative easing. They're going to be doing quantitative easing for the first time ever in Australia. However, there's different formats of stimulus which will come through. Could be coming via, universal basic income. The greatest one that I thought of, which was tonight, thank you again, Tommy, for making me think of it, is imagine if people go, "I'm so poor, I've lost my job, it's a recession, I can't afford to live, I'm getting kicked out of my home, I'm being homeless." And imagine if the government starts giving out rental food stamps, right? They're like, "Here, pay your rent with this." Imagine what will happen to the rental market. Rents go boom, right? And if they leave something there, it'll be hard to wean them off it. It's like, you never see them take it away. Howard introduced the first homeowner grant back in 2001, and we haven't seen it disappear ever since. So it will be very interesting to see what formats of quantitative easing will be coming through. Matthew, shares baby, ASX 200 bargain 6 month. Then from now, I do not agree with you. I think that, if we look at the stock market at the moment, very cheap. I just fear that we're going to see it a lot cheaper. Imagine if, and this is something a lot of people haven't even, I said I was going to hop on for like 20 minutes to do this video, but you guys are just keeping me going. Imagine if the if we have to go into lockdown and no one can leave their house for a month, or whatever's happening overseas, companies are going to go bust, right? Some companies are shop front, storefront, big firms, whatever. They can't handle paying wages for 2 months without having business, paying the rent, going broke, all that sort of stuff. Then imagine if they're not paying the rent in the store, the retail, apocalypse comes through, fucks up the retail market. Places like Westfield get themselves into trouble. They can't meet their liquidity payments, etc. It's going to have a big flow-on effect. And I believe that we're going to see a lot more impact in the stock markets, but that is not my financial advice. It's just me giving you my opinion. Gordon McLeod, Gordon here, thank you. Another good video, Nathan. Thank you, mate. Henry, houses will be appreciating more than units, in your opinion. I think houses and units and villas and townhouses will all go up at the same rate. Houses don't outstrip units. It's all a fallacy. My portfolio is very good balance, 50-50 probably, maybe 30-70, maybe 70-30 split of houses to units. I don't like factor one over another. I don't favour one over another. As long as they fit in line with my overall strategy and the property is going to get me to where I need to be, that's what I focus on. Nathan, do you think this will drive house prices down? No. Paul, need to watch the rest of the video. I've covered off on this beforehand. I just don't want to rehash for everyone that's been watching all night, but check that out. Massive redistribution of health happening right now. QE lowers value of currency as it go up. Property prices about to go up. Exactly. That's what we've been talking about. Are you familiar with Phil Anderson's book, Secret of Life, Real Estate and Banking? Hyperinflation sounds in line with his thoughts. Never heard of Phil Anderson beforehand. Don't know stuff, but yeah, the few people out there might have a similar sort of belief system, but they never talk about this stuff in the media or anything like that. You have to go digging and understanding, get into the beat of the market and understanding what's happening with the money. A lot of time goes into understanding these things. With QE interest rates heading to zero, will we see values doubling every 7 to 10 years? Have been for decades. All these people with property clocks and we're about to hit fucking boom time, all that stuff. Not a big fan of those clocks. Waves and cycles of how liquidity goes out in the market and comes back. QE interest rate heading down to zero. If you notice, one very important thing, guys, I want you to go and do some research on this. It's not just me saying it. It's not me making this up. Kem, thank you very much for asking me that question. Every 7 to 10 years, everyone says property market booms, prices go up, whatever the case may be. It's not every 7 to 10 years. If you go back and look at every recession, look at what happens when you see a recession. A recession happens, shit goes to south, stimulus comes in, interest rates get reduced, whatever, and pushes the property market up or the share market up. It's always the injection after the fact. So deflationary period, things going backwards, they need to push in to prop the market up, and they always overcompensate, and that pushes the market to the new high. So that's what we're about to see. Stan, you're awesome. Just keep going. Thanks for helping us all. You guys are very appreciated. I appreciate that. It's a lot to have the feedback. You mean you can buy a house for $1 million and pay $90 per week? I was referring to a 1% interest rate on a $489,000 mortgage from someone beforehand. So just clarifying that that's where the $90 per week is. But there is countries around the world which, like Denmark, which currently has a 10-year rate at negative 0.5%. So if you bought a property technically with $1 million mortgage, you would end up getting $5,000 or $100 per week back. There's only 102 USD, BTC isn't even Bitcoin. Daniel, I'm going to stay on track this evening. I'll do another video on cryptocurrency if you'd like. But yes, I agree with you on that front. I do agree with you on the BTC isn't even Bitcoin. There is a lot of controversy around that. So yes, and I'm invested in all three, SV, BTC, and BCH. What do you think the effect will be on regional areas? Will there be a delay in property price increase? Very good question, Stephen. Something I wanted to point out about the Gold Coast. A lot of people go, why do you want to buy the Gold Coast? One thing that I always track is like migration, because we need to have migration coming in. We need to have more tax slaves in the country. We cannot breed enough tax slaves ourselves, so we need to bring them in via immigration. Problem is that you've got some very skilled people that could have been a doctor in India, a scientist in China, whatever, and they're not regarded here in Australia. They have to go back to university and get all the degrees again. However, in some regional areas, a doctor can practice for 10 years. Like, that could come from India. I've got a lot of exposure in the medical sort of field. You could come from India and you could go get a job working as a doctor out in Tamworth to help build that community up and bring growth to that community. And then you work there for 10 years and you're regarded, your degrees are regarded as Australians as you've been working here for 10 years, studying working as your study. Currently, something that's just happened recently, very, very big news, and this is for Southeast Queensland and the Gold Coast market specifically, is that the Gold Coast and Southeast Queensland has now been regarded as a regional city for that, and that's going to cause a big boom of immigration, just like Sydney being the doormat to the country, and that market's about to boom. So we're 5 years to 7 years before that market with our recommendations of what we'll buy property front-wise as well. But we will see the effect go through regional and city property prices as we're playing the long game. Matt, am I from the future? Yes. Well, we've been on this live stream for an hour and 25 minutes. I am from the future from when we first started talking this evening, and so were you. But no, not a time traveler. I've been asked that beforehand, but just like to study and see where the next move is. So yeah. Daniel said here, Craig Wright is from the future. He may well be. I'm not, but he might be. Michael, mentoring program was good. Miss those weekends, miss hanging out, mate. And I'm actually finding a lot of love from these Facebook Lives. It's kind of like, makes me feel a bit like a mentoring program again. Mithun wrote here, what if the government puts in some form of rent control? Could be very, that's what we've talked about a little bit this evening. It could be a stimulus package. Go back and watch the rest of it. I don't want to keep going again on the same information. Real Estate Australia, great, truthful information on the current market conditions. Thank you very much. Caleb, what's the name of the book you mentioned earlier? Was it The Truth About Money? No, it's a YouTube channel called, it's Mike Maloney is the guy who published it. It's called The Hidden Secrets of Money, and it's a free video series on YouTube, and it talks a lot about the monetary system, how money works. Not as it's a bit more published than just me doing a live stream, but very good sort of series to get a bit of a basis. I never trust anything I see. I'm not telling you guys to trust me either. I look at pieces and put together the dots of the map, and when people say, am I from the future, I'm just getting bits of data, and I go, that sounds correct information. I can see how that can fit in over here and how that fits in. And for a good resource for you guys, it could be something worthwhile having a look at. Josh, Perth has been classed as a regional as well as the Gold Coast. Yes, there has been other places apart from just Gold Coast, but there is a lot of regional towns that are shifting. Sydney used to have like outer west where you could be a doctor and be regarded here. Because we've had so much migration coming through. Sydney's being locked out as a regional, and we've got to go to other city locations. So I see that Greg just posted about that there for you, Caleb. So guys, look, I apologise for being so long on this live stream. I want to thank you again for your time. For those of you that join in later onto this video, I encourage you to go back and watch the start of the video, because I did get to the heading of this video, and that is how to retire in the GFD/coronavirus that we are in at the moment. There's a lot of people out there that will be able to. There's a lot of people that will be in a position to, but actually don't, because they'll fuck this opportunity up. So if you need help on structuring your portfolio, I founded a company called B.Invested. Been in business for over 10 years now, 11 years in operation. As a part of that, I run an investment firm. I started one of Australia's first buyers agencies out there in the marketplace, a national property management business where I help people manage their properties like a hedge fund, not like dodgy real estate agents do. I've got a finance company where I help people strategically set up their finance so they can move forward and build large asset positions. an education business where I help sort of give advice on how to build a portfolio. If you'd like to change your portfolio, you'd like to build your portfolio, like to refinance your portfolio, flick us a message on the link above, and I'll be in contact in the not too distant future. Very, very busy at the moment due to all the need of people wanting to save their lives. The other thing that I do is I do look after people's super funds. So everybody here, I know you have a super fund. The thousands of people that will see this video, I know you've got a super fund. If you need help with that, I can manage it. I can help you navigate through this market. Hit me up with the messages above, and I'll be able to help out where I can. As a final note on this, thanks a lot for tuning in. If you did like this video, if you could like it, if you could share it around to your friends, tag your friends in the video, like this page. And if you do get a lot of good content out of here, which I do see everybody writing in this live stream that you do get a lot of value out of this, if I could just ask for one little favor, that's maybe just to write a review on the page to boost our indexing up, to say why you like it. Give us a 5-star. If you don't like what I say and you think I'm on another fucking planet, put down a 1-star and tell me how much you hate me. But if you could just write some reviews on this, that would be very, very much appreciated. So thank you very much, guys. Be safe. Don't get polluted from the news. There is one thing that's much worse than catching coronavirus. Two things if you're Charlie Sheen, but the one thing that's worse than catching the coronavirus is catching a negative mindset. A negative mindset will fuck you up a lot more in life than this coronavirus. Thanks, guys. Catch up soon. Have a good one. Bye for now.